So, it's been a little while since I did a Reddit discussion video. I really enjoy doing these types of videos, but the problem is that for me to do them, I need people from the community to post a topic first, and the rest of the community needs to give good feedback on it. That way I have something to discuss when making the video. Well, today I found a topic that I can get behind, and the community gave great feedback, so we have something to discuss. The subject of today's video is Jessie, and whether she needs a buff or if she's balanced and is just overlooked in the meta. As usual with these videos, I'll read the original post, give my thoughts on the subject, and then we'll run through what other people have posted as well. And, as always, I encourage you guys as viewers to post what you think on the subject down in the comments. I love hearing what you guys think as well. So, take a second and tell me what you guys think about Jessie. If you think she's good or balanced, drop that in the comments. And if you think she's weak, what would you like to see changed about her? And, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Jam. I love to talk about Brawl Stars, balancing, and meta. I've done several videos like this, as well as some gameplay videos as well. If you enjoy this, check out some of my other stuff at the end of the video. Alright, let's get into it. So, the Reddit user, NotaBoy, posted this subject: does Jessie need a buff? Why or why not? They state that they've seen several people asking for a buff for Jessie and wanted to ask the rest of the community what they thought on the subject. So, real quick, let's go through my personal thoughts on it. I personally feel like Jessie needs a buff. I feel like power creep has hit a lot of the older brawlers pretty hard, and Jessie is one of those brawlers. She used to be very good as a mid and gem grab and could work in Brawl Ball and Heist depending on your team comp. But nowadays, I feel like there are a lot of brawlers who do her job better and bring more to the team than she can. Mr. PA has his spawners, Ems has amazing damage, and Gene can pull brawlers as well as heal them with his Magic Puff star power. All these brawlers replace her in Gem Grab or Brawl Ball, which were arguably her best modes. So there are two buffs I'd like to see made to her. I'm not saying both of these changes need to be done, but I think one of these could work wonders for her. I think either a reload speed buff or a buff to her projectile speed will go a long way to help make her more viable in-game. So I think a reload speed buff would help her right now because she has very low burst damage. And a buff like this could help her get an extra shot off when she needs to 4-shot an opponent. It could help with a few interactions and make her a little more threatening if she manages to get a brawler to low HP. But I think the better change would be her projectile speed. Right now, it feels very difficult to land a lot of shots with her, especially when you get higher up in trophies and people learn how to dodge. Her shots feel like they take an eternity to get to where you're aiming, and skilled players just juke them so easily. It can make it very difficult for Jessie to get her super, and that is when Jessie really shines, is when she can manage to get her turret down on the map. Okay, now let's get into what some of the community has to say about her. Paladin Gamer thinks that she's currently balanced. They say that she lacks burst damage and has very low reload speed, but this is offset by her super, which can be extremely powerful when placed correctly by giving her a great area of denial and chip damage on tanks. I don't really disagree with these points, as I see where they come from, and I don't really have a great argument against them. There are a few people who would like to hold off on buffing her till more people get her gadget, because it's a very good gadget. Zyroberg is one of those people. Speedfire says that she's pretty good in Gem Grab and Brawl Ball, and that she has good star powers, they just don't exert enough pressure on the enemy when used. However, they feel like we should wait until more people get her gadget to see if it makes a difference as well. So, my argument against waiting because of her gadget is that most pros and high-ranked players have all the gadgets by now, and they still aren't really using Jessie other than just to push trophies. If her gadget alone made her more viable, she'd be used more. I think a good example of this is a brawler like Penny. Penny wasn't used a lot just before gadgets were released. Not that she was bad, because her Balls of Fire star power have always made her very good at zoning people out of lanes and maintaining control of the map. But after her gadget was released, it breathed new life into her, and it was talked about right away. Jessie has not gotten the same treatment from what I've seen and read. So there are a lot of people who are fans of giving Jessie a buff. The user FGTY says that she's high skill for low reward. Kind of like what I said about Colt a few weeks ago. The effort you put into making her work will get better results on a different brawler. Blocky Blast likes the idea of a small damage buff for her. Dark Cat also agrees with this. Mifflint is actually calling for a big buff. They say that she needs a damage buff, her turret needs an HP buff, and her second star power needs a buff as well. They also claim that just buffing her star powers, like what other people we will talk about are going to suggest, will only make her star power dependent and not really address the problem. So, I have a few thoughts on all of this. First off, it's too many buffs at once in my opinion. It runs the risk of making her overpowered. I can agree with the damage buff and the star power one, but the turret HP is probably okay and I don't think it needs a buff right now. And as for making her star power dependent, there's a unique situation I think will happen with Jessie if they buff just her star powers. Right now, Jessie's very good at lower trophies because of her bounce shot mechanic. It punishes players for grouping up and allowing her to get a lot of damage on everyone and charging her super very quickly. But this value falls off more and more the higher you push up with her. So, if Supercell buffs just her star powers, the situation I see happening is that people will push her to 500 or 600, then begin to struggle with her and put her down until they unlock her star powers. This isn't the situation I think Supercell really wants for any brawler, but it's what I can see happening if they go that route. Next up, we got Obsidian. They say she has very little damage, rarely gets value from her bounce shots, and has a very slow reload speed. She's really reliant on her team to pick up her slack, and just mostly capitalizes on other teams' mistakes. They would be on board with just buffing her star powers. Brawl Moment claims she's the worst brawler in the game, having low burst damage and a difficult time charging her super because of the speed of her projectiles. They also point out that Jessie's turret can be 3-shot by a lot of brawlers, so even when she gets it, it may get wiped out right away. They think that a reload speed buff and a damage buff would help her. And now for the most popular post on this topic. Viable Fries says that Jessie is outclassed by a lot of brawlers in the current meta and has little to stand out from the crowd. They also acknowledge that at low trophies she's very good because of her mechanics, like we discussed earlier. So, Viable Fries thinks that buffing her base kit runs the risk of making her overpowered at low trophies. They think that star power buffs are the right way to go. That way she isn't more frustrating early game, but better when in the late game. They suggest making Energize heal more. That way you can keep the turret alive a little longer and try to get a little more value out of it when you put it in a good spot. They'd also like to see Shocky either do more damage or make the projectiles move a lot faster. I don't think the damage buff would help, but the projectile speed could help land shots when targets are moving, which means that Jessie would get more value more consistently from her turret. So, I think in general, most people are on board with giving Jessie a little buff. Damage seems to be the most popular choice amongst the community. It's a boring buff, but it could help. I'm personally a fan of projectile speed as well. Making it easier to land shots and charge supers is always a good route to take in my opinion. I also like the idea of buffing just her star powers, as to not make her too overpowering to new players. I understand that line of thinking. As I said earlier, comment what you think should be done with Jessie. If you agreed with any of these ideas, drop that in your comment as well. If you enjoyed the video, check out some of my other stuff. I do this type of content all the time. Consider subscribing as well. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.